Hello, hello, and welcome to the Rock Metal Podcast. I'm your host, John Harris, and today on the Rock Metal Podcast, we have Lost at Sea, and they have a new album called Motion Sickness, which is going to be releasing on April 30th via Revival Recordings. Right now, I'm being joined by Carlos and Aaron to share some more information about this stellar release that came across my desk like just yesterday at the time of recording. You guys are fast! So, Aaron and Carlos, welcome to the show, baby.
Thanks for having us.
What's going on?
Yeah, well, enjoying some winter, having some tea. How is life in Texas these days?
Too cold for me, but maybe not too cold for you.
It'd be a nice summer day if I did that. It'd be fantastic.
Probably, honestly.
Yeah.
I'd be in shorts and flip-flops with like a little inflatable ring around looking for a pool. What are those things, like a duck or a swan or whatever? Those inflatable pool things?
Yeah. Those are... And only wearing that.
Mm-hmm.
Just that.
Exactly. Oh, here comes old Collider. And I just come in there, with my thing, just doing my thing. Yeah, he's more of an albatross. So, Lost at Sea, Motion Sickness. I see what you guys are doing here. Take us through this record. Is there a theme to the record? What should we expect from the record? Why is it called Motion Sickness? Is it because you're lost at sea?
So, the overall idea that kind of popped out at the record after we took a step back and looked at all the stuff that we had written is that we had been going through, we had just moved from College Station, which is the town that Carlos and I went to school in, up to Dallas. And there was a lot of stuff going on in our lives, and we realized that a lot of the tracks had that same theme of moving from one place to another, being kind of, thrown off course or not necessarily feeling like you know exactly where you're headed, whether that's like physically or emotionally or really anything in between. So motion sickness was kind of like that, being thrown back and forth.
Okay. Because when you were saying moving from one place to another, you meant physically, but did you also then mean emotionally, maybe even spiritually, going from one place to another?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Texas A&M, is that where you guys were?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You guys went and got educated.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know how well that did for us.
Well,
if all things go well, we won't use it. So,
well, now you're in a band on my show, so far you're not doing very good at all. But what I will say though is that it is incredibly good music. It's kind of funny. Today's shows, I've done a few interviews today. Today's interviews have all been like the pop punk kind of sound. And I don't know if that's what you guys are going for, but that's kind of, I think, what was sold to me. I don't know if I'm holding a vacuum cleaner necessarily, but I dig it.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, we have obvious influences that kind of come through in our music. We're never really sure what to call it, but I mean, it does sound a lot like a lot of those pop punk bands. But, try and put it on.
So take us through this then. So did you guys meet at Texas A&M and you're like, you play the guitar, I play the guitar, we both play the guitar together. Let's go on to this guy's podcast out of Canada. And
well, I think we kind of just met through mutual friends in the like the downtown music scene in Bryan College Station. So I think we had both been playing in other bands and playing music with other people for so long that it just kind of it was inevitable that we'd end up crossing paths.
Well, we met after school. Like, yeah, after we had both finished.
You want to talk about the record that I wasn't on, but the drums are?
Yeah, so Carlos joined the band after his drums did. We ran into him, and before we officially asked him to join the band, we had a temporary drummer when we were recording our first EP. He didn't have a drum set, and I had just met Carlos like that week before and asked to borrow his kit. And then a couple months later, he joined the band, went on tour with us, and just been in the back ever since.
So the common joke is my drums are on more records than I am.
Well, sir, probably a good high quality drum kit. I mean, that's bound to happen. True story, years ago, when I was in a band, we were auditioning drummers, and we actually had a guy who was like, "Hey, I'd love to audition for you guys, but do you have a drum kit? Because I don't." And the first thing we said was like, "You're a drummer. Like, what, am I supposed to show up and like I don't have a guitar, but if I could borrow your guitar, I could totally be in your band." Like, I don't know, it sounds kind of weird, but here we are. It happens.
It happens.
They're out there. Now, speaking of things happening and people colliding together, take us through this music video, because this is an incredible space wherever it is that you guys are at. And you're probably like, backyard, Texas A&M, whatever. But this is a cool space. It's a cool music video. So take us through Collider.
So specifically about that music video, that was an abandoned warehouse right behind the studio that we recorded at in New Jersey.
I was so
there
wrong.
There was no power, so we had to use our bassist's car to power the lights, and there was no AC, and it was in the middle of the summer. So if you look really closely, you can see us sweating pretty hard.
I was going to say, you look significantly more under stress in this music video than you do right now. You look great.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I was like, is that the same dude? You've lost weight. Great.
It was hot enough to get sick. Like, the weather was so fair the entire 2 weeks that we were recording in New Jersey, and the day that we went to record the music video was like blisteringly hot, like Texas hot, and we were in an oven of a warehouse connecting extension cords to inverters and 2 cars parked outside to make this ragtag video that ended up coming out really well.
Mm-hmm. It looks professionally done. Did you have like a camera person with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it could be one of those music videos where, like, if I watch more closely, there's always one less member of the band in every shot because somebody else is filming, right? But, cool.
No, we had a guy come out and he did a good job.
He did do a good job. I enjoy it. Why New Jersey?
We went up to record at the Lumberyard with Ace and Nick from the Early November and Man Overboard.
So tell me more. Why them? Why?
Well, I mean, I've been a fan of the Early November for, I don't know, over a decade and a half. And just started talking to the guys up there at the Lumberyard, and their approach to recording was to like dive really deep into the songs and make sure that like each part, each lyric was as good as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
And just really crafting the songs from the ground up. And like, we threw away a lot of things in the studio, and they pushed us to write the best songs that we could, and it turned out great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great sounding EP, or not EP, is album EP
album.
Yeah. Apologies, I did not mean to offend you, sir. Anybody out there work on an EP, do better. So, but I mean, immediately I thought, not only is it a great sounding record, but it's a good music to go along with it. Because I mean, how many times have you heard a great sounding record, but the music sucks? And it's like, I don't know, a lap dance where they're required by law to stand 3 feet away from you. It's not really a lap dance at that point. I don't know where that one came from, but I like that one. I think I'm going to keep that in there.
I'm going to start using that analogy.
Probably should. Far too many people are going to be like, I get that, but I don't want to say that I get that, but I get that. I've been there. And then you'll find some weird guy who's like, man, you got to go to and insert some county or something where they have.
You got to go to Jersey.
You got to go to Jersey. They got good gravy at Sal's. Like, what? How do we go from lap dances to eating? Anyway, Cool. Yeah, I'm on their website right now. Very, very straightforward. Just like, what are you looking to do? You're looking to do a single song, the dreaded EP, the complete full length, or the Lumberyard package. So, yeah, it seems more like they're less of a recording studio and more of a production facility.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a cool setup. They have they're built into the second floor of this old antique shop, like in some little downtown in a lumber town, which makes a lot of sense. But yeah, you go upstairs in this antique shop, and there's like some non-assuming door that has the word Lumberyard painted on it, and you walk in, and it's like this two live room built out studio with no windows, and we just like hold ourselves up there literally for 2 weeks. Like they have a bunk room that we could like for us to sleep in, and literally just the only time we saw the sun was when we left to go across the street to a Wawa to get food. Yeah, it is mad cabin fever, but I think everything turned out well. Mm-hmm. I couldn't stay there for the entire 2 weeks. I started freaking out, and I left and went to New York for like 3 days because I played drums, and so I was done by day 4. And I was like, I can't look at you guys anymore, and I had to leave. But it seems like they took care of everything else, and things turned out.
Well, I mean, that's something to point out is recording is really tedious and slow and incredibly boring. And if you're not the one doing something, whatever it is, like really not that fun. You recorded your drums, cool. Unless you don't have any questions, I'm gonna peace and go get some knishes in New York. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yep, I went and did that for a couple of days, and then they came back and yelled at them about the way they were doing stuff. So
wait, what was it you didn't like?
No, I'm kidding. I did like how everything was coming out, but that ends up being our band dynamic. Is I wake up in the back seat and I yell at Aaron about directions, and then I go back to sleep. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And then how did Revival get involved? Because it looks like you guys have quite the team here. I went to your website. You have a manager and a record label and a promoter. And I mean, it sounds like all of this happened pretty fast. I mean, take us through how Revival got involved.
Yeah, so we got in touch with Revival through our manager, Jack White. Not that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'd already been friends with the A&R guy at Revival, and showed him the LP whenever we had finished. A couple months later, after the pandemic had started, he got back in touch with Jack and was interested in helping us put it out, and it just all kind of snowballed from there. It was pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. So you guys invested this money up front to get the whole album recorded. Kind of a silly question, but did you know you guys were setting yourselves up for this snowball effect?
Not at all. We've been a DIY band for we've done literally everything ourselves for the last 5.5 years. So this was just kind of like the cherry on top. And we're super grateful that anyone showed interest at all.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Take us through this song, Collider. What is Colliding?
So the idea for Collider came out from this incredibly vivid dream that I had, I guess a couple of months before we got into the studio, that I had just gotten off a flight in San Antonio, and I called my girlfriend in Dallas to let her know that, I had landed safe, I was home. And while I'm on the phone, I hear her get into this incredible, violent car crash, and I listened to the entire crash and the aftermath of it over the phone, and couldn't do anything about it because I was in San Antonio and she was in Dallas. And so I had to listen to all this happen and listen to her, her crying afterwards and not knowing if she was okay. And I woke up with kind of this like clarity of you have to tell people what they mean to you when you have the chance, because you don't know what's coming and what's going to happen. And that's kind of where this song stemmed from.
Okay. So we have a Nickelback music video as a dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Boom. And then moment of clarity. Very interesting. I for some reason I wasn't thinking it was going to be headed in that direction, but I was like, isn't it kind of crazy how sometimes you can have a dream that just like shakes you for the rest of the day?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, moment of clarity. Were you unclear with your girlfriend up to that point?
No, I don't think so. It's just sometimes these dreams have kind of a shaking effect on the way you think about life in general, you know?
Mm-hmm. Did you call her and tell her? You're like, babe. You have to show 3 babes. And after the third babe, you're like, so I had this dream.
Yeah, it was 2 or 3 babes, but yeah, it took me a day or 2 to get over that.
What was her reaction when you told her that she didn't die in the car accident? You don't know what happened in the car accident.
No, I don't know what happened in the car accident.
Okay.
She was basically, I'm sorry that I'm a bad driver in your dreams. But
oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a bad driver in real life too. But
okay. Well, I guess you get what's coming to you. Stop hurting other people.
I know, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Boom. Okay. So how come the music video then didn't become a Nickelback music video with like slow motion, like car destruction shots and...
Well, we got in touch with Michael Bay, but he wasn't interested.
It's too bad. Because you guys were in Jersey, that's why.
Yeah. Also, we didn't have a multi-million-dollar budget.
Wow.
Yeah,
I know. Well, this looks cool anyway. I dig it. Okay. Well, yeah, that would definitely cause some motion sickness. I mean, that sounds jarring.
Sorry.
That was exactly the word that I used to describe it.
Yeah. Well, you weren't kidding, but definitely in a quite a few different ways. One of the other tracks we're going to chat about is a focus track off of the record was Albatross. Now, at the time that we're recording this, that track doesn't have a music video. It's not released to my knowledge. But
correct.
Obviously, this episode's going to air in March-ish time. So take us through this track. What is Albatross? Did you have a dream where you were talking to an albatross?
No. The song itself is based off of a book called The Raw Shark Texts. And the first half of the book, the main character has lost his significant other in a scuba diving accident.
Oh.
And there's a whole like Memento kind of vibe to it where he forgot who he was because the trauma of the experience was like shook him so much.
Mm-hmm.
And so the song itself is it's sitting in that moment and not understanding what's going on because of the grief that you've experienced and the guilt from not having been able to stop that from happening. And albatross in literature is the embodiment of guilt, like hanging around your neck. It's from like a old poem.
Clearly, you went to university. You're over my head here.
Yeah. One of the big things that we had to do at the studio was to take all of these like really complex ideas and like distill it down into like what actually matters.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that we pulled out of the song was that even though all of these like things are happening and you feel this guilt, that in the end, it's going to be fine.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. Linkin Park said in the end it didn't matter anyway.
Not my philosophy.
Yeah. Boom. Yeah, I'm on the Wikipedia page of this book. I've never heard of it. 2007. I think it was right around that time there was that guy who like killed his fiance or something by taking out her oxygen tank while she was scuba diving, and
oh dear.
Yeah.
I had forgot about that.
Yeah. So there was like a picture of him like giving a thumbs up, and she's at the bottom, and yeah.
Messed up.
Yeah. So immediately I was like, oh, I wonder if this is based on that. But there's a whole lot of things on this Wikipedia page about this book. Apparently, kung fu is a theme in the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
The book is wild.
Okay.
Like, even the typography of it, and like, there are some pages that have a shark made out of like characters, like letters.
Mm-hmm.
It's bananas.
It is bananas. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Would you recommend the book? Like, is it something that I should run out to the public library and go pick up?
I love the book.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay. Yeah, it seems to have quite a few play on words, quite literally, from what I've guessed, or what I'm seeing here. And then some other themes. And I like kung fu. So if you can get sharks and kung fu together, then it's the best Shark Week seen in my... Well, that's
and
cool.
If you love kung fu, there's also some like vague references to the Matrix.
Okay. I know kung fu. Which I believe was Southern Crane style kung fu they were learning.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Then they're coming out with the number 4, and then a John Wick number 4. It's the year of the number 4.
I love John Wick.
Who doesn't love John? Come on.
I just love Keanu in general.
Mm-hmm. My wife and I were just talking about this the other day. Like, he has not aged, and he's maintained his level of respectability his entire career.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like that's just gone up.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. It's like Bill and Ted stamped him forever, and then he's just been working away from that for like 40 years.
That's exactly where I was just about to start from. I love that movie so much.
Yeah. The entire time I'm watching John Wick, I'm like, isn't this guy like 50 something? Like, what is going on? And I look back at a movie poster from The Matrix and like, he hasn't aged. He's not real. Yeah. And then somebody else said, you should watch Jack Reacher. It's got Tom Cruise in it. And I went, ugh, I don't know if I want to watch a Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah.
Like, arguably a better actor, but he's done so much crap that stamped him in my mind since then that Keanu hasn't done, that I'm just like, I would much rather just watch Keanu Reeves for 2 hours.
Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom. Okay. Fan-freaking-tastic. We've chatted about Collider, we've chatted about Albatross, we've chatted about the album Motion Sickness, we've chatted about some literature, we've chatted about the recording studio and production team, we chatted about that your manager is Jack White, but not that Jack White. Chatted about Revival, chatted about life in Texas, we chatted about life in Jersey in the summer, chatted about New York for 3 days. Is there anything?
Covered a lot of ground.
We did cover a lot of ground in 24 minutes and 51 seconds, baby. We did it. Is there anything that you guys wanted to chat about that I did not bring up?
What do you think, Aaron?
I don't know, to be honest.
Okay. We could chat gear for a second. I saw your bass player's got a Ampeg SVT, which is a sexy amp, and it looks like he's got a P bass, which is a sexy combination.
Okay, let's talk about gear for quite a while.
Does he have a rat pedal too? I mean, come on.
If there's one thing that we're good at, it's buying gear. Okay, so the bass in that music video is a 1964 Fender P bass.
No,
it's a 64
Beautiful.
for CBS.
Wow.
Yeah. That is our bass crown jewel. He took that on tour once and then decided that he didn't want to risk it anymore.
No.
No. But if you want to get into his signal chain, I'm pretty sure I can recount it. It's 64 P bass or a hand-built Gibson grabber, so not really Gibson, into, what does he use for a fuzz? He uses an Assmaster, and then that goes into a Sans amp, and then into a Fender Super Bassman.
How do you spell Assmaster?
300. exactly how it sounds. I think I forget what. Maleko.
Maleko. Maleko. Well, that's cool, and I'm glad somebody said pre-CBS, because then immediately I went to my head with Wayne's World. Pre-CBS corporate buyout.
Speaking of Wayne's World, do you still have your hat, Carlos?
I had to toss it. It is disgusting. No, I don't have it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, we talk about Phil's bases, but it's more than 2 bases. I think he had like 20 at one point.
Yeah.
That guy hoards gear like nobody's business.
Now I think he has like 4 P bases, including the 64. Most of them are either custom or I think they're all custom. I don't know where he gets them. He like buys parts and then has what's that company that does the relic? MJT. He sends them to MJT and then has them relicked.
Okay. So that is the bass sound that is on the record?
Yes.
Wow.
At least the bass. He used that.
Okay. Yeah, and I think the bass sound is a combination of a DI with digital compressors and what amp did we use? We mic'd a 410 as well, but I don't remember if it was an SVT or something else.
Okay. All right. I dig it, boys. I dig it. I'm going to have to go listen back to that bass. Slap of the bass. Beautiful. All right. Well, guys, unless there's anything else you wanted to throw out there, I wanted to thank you for coming on to the Pop Punk podcast today.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, man. It was fun.